Welcome to this webinar covering easy insight and building reports and dashboards on your Basecamp project management data. If you have any questions as we go through the webinar here, feel free to chime in on the Q&A and we'll answer as soon as we can. So this, in particular, this webinar is going to cover the integration to Basecamp 3. If you are using Basecamp 2, it's going to be similar, but there will be a few differences here and there. Once you connect Easy Insight to Basecamp, you'll get a pre-built dashboard providing you with a variety of views across your project and to-do information. For example, we have our key performance indicators for this month compared to last month. How many to-dos have we completed? How many were completed late, on time? How many projects are active? And how many comments have been posted. We have a percentage comparison to the previous month. And then we have a series of charts. These charts show us information like how many to-dos are open across all of our projects by assignee. And we have a little breakdown there of which ones are on time and which ones are late. We also have a historical view here of how many to-dos have been completed each month by assignee. Now, for anything in the dashboard, you can click on, say, a chart element, a table element, whatever it is, to pull up a drill-through report with actionable information, the to-do name, the project, the to-do list, whether or not the to-do is overdue, whether or not it's been completed, the assignees, the due date, and the completion date if completed. You can also use filters to pare down what you're seeing. The Basecamp status filter allows you to look at active or, if you opted to include them, archived projects. Basecamp name, this filter lets you pare it down so you only look at a certain subset of projects. And the to-do assignee filter allows you to pare it down and only look at a certain set of assignees within your organization. We also have a chart here of how many comments have been posted for each project, and a chart showing how many days overdue to-dos are typically being completed. So here we can see that most of our to-dos are being completed on time, but some are 1 day late, 2 to 3 days late, and 4 to 6 days late. The What's Happened tab provides us with more of a historical view as far as how many to-dos have been due each month, completed late each month, and the on-time percentage per month. We can adjust the date filter as shown here to only look at a certain, say for example, 2020. We adjust, and it updates accordingly. Next, the Resource Allocation tab helps you to understand the upcoming workload and try to identify resources that may be overloaded. Here you see the average number of to-dos that each person completes on a weekly basis, and you see the upcoming week-over-week number of to-dos each person has. So for example, we can see that Mike Johnson has four to-dos due this week or next week, but his average number completed is 2. The project summary list gives us a view across all of our projects. The number of open to-dos, completed, the completed percentage, the on-time percentage, the first due date, and the last due date. If we click on a column header, it'll do a sort. So for example, we can sort to see, okay, what are the projects that are starting most recently to now? Or what are the projects that have their last due date as far out as at the very end? We also have some table views here. The Basecamp tree allows us to look at all of our to-dos across projects and to-do lists. We can open up the tree to see the to-do list underneath that project, and the to-dos beneath each to-do list. The Basecamp Gantt chart. This Gantt chart allows you to look across your different projects and see what has not been completed and what is. So, okay, we can see, for example, that this project has 10 tasks due between July 24th and October 9th. We can open it up to see the individual tasks that make up that data. And we have coloring to indicate which assignees each of those tasks is assigned to. We can adjust the date filter to only look at this quarter, this month, and we can adjust the date level so that we can look at data at a month level, a week level, a day level, and so on. Finally, we have a calendar view. This shows us, in this case, we're filtering to only show to-dos which have not been completed. Here we see the set of to-dos that are due across our team with coloring for who they belong to. And this view, again, is across all projects, assuming that you don't have some sort of filter set to only show a certain subset of projects. Next, let's look at how you can build custom reports on your Basecamp data. From your Basecamp data source, click on Create and do Create Report. We'll go ahead and click on Choose Field, and you'll see we have a variety of folders that are available to us. In particular, we're going to focus on a few of these. Basecamps, you may want to actually think of as projects. So here we have really what's our project name. We have when it was created, when it was updated, Basecamp purpose. That is going to be there to tell you if it is what's considered a team or a project inside of Basecamp. We have our description, and Basecamp count is going to be the number of projects. The to-dos folder has all the information that is pulled out of Basecamp around your to-dos. So we have, if we do to-do count, it's going to sum up the number of to-dos per project. If we pull in to-do completed, it's going to break that out by project, the count, and then whether or not the to-do has been completed. We can drag the column around to reorder it. We can click on a value. So we run a report, click on a value, do a filter, and now it's only showing us to-dos that have been completed. As far as the actual assignees, those are found under the to-do to assignee folder. So if we grab to-do assignee, now we're seeing the project, the assignee, and the number of to-dos. If we want to visualize this information a little better, we could change the report to a cross tab. If we click on list and go to cross tab, we'll go ahead and then we'll go ahead and move these around again. So we'll move Basecamp over to the rows and count over to the measures. And there we go. So now we're seeing the combination of each project, assignee, and the number of completed to-dos for each combination thereof. So we do have a question around, could we show the, let's see, how we load the information for assignee availability. I'm assuming that is in reference to the resource availability tab on the dashboard that we were on. We'll come back to that one, but just continuing for a second here. So other fields you have available to you. So under to-dos, you have whether or not the to-do's been archived, the date at which it was completed, the date at which it was created, who in the organization actually created the to-do description, the due date for the to-do, the group name, if you're using groups on top of to-do lists, the to-do name itself, the start date, the to-do list name, the URL back to the to-do in Basecamp, and the update date. You'll also see that there are a number of fields, go ahead and remove this filter, that are under the to-do calculations folder. These are calculated fields in Easy Insight So for example, completed is automatically set to filter to only show completed to-dos. Completed late is set to only show to-dos that were completed late. So if we do that, updates accordingly, and it's only showing to-dos that were completed late. If we do open, it only shows us complete to-dos that are open, that have not been completed. Let's see, so we have a question. Where do we find the first dashboard? So when you connect Easy Insight to Basecamp, you should automatically get that dashboard installed into your account. And it should be available for you under main views as Basecamp dashboard. And sorry, the question was, where do we find that first dashboard? So it should be there under main views after you connect Easy Insight to Basecamp. Okay, moving on here. As you build your reports as well, so for example, we can do to-do name, we'll pull in our project name, and we'll pull in the due date. And there's a question that actually I think I can answer in the flow of what I'm doing right now. So the question is, where can we see the tasks that need to be completed in order of due date? So for example, if we're building a report here now, we could do create filter, open up to-dos, and do to-do completed. For this, we can just go ahead and do a single value filter. And we could change it to false. So that filter is only going to show us to-dos that have not been completed. Now, in our report, we've got the to-do, the project, and the due date. If we click on the column header for due date, it first goes oldest to newest. So now it's showing us in order of due date, what are the open to-dos that need to be completed across all of our projects. And again, the question there was, where can we see the tasks that need to be completed in order of due date? Now, let's say this report, we want to email out to our team every Monday at 7 a.m. So what we could do is save our report, give it a name, now we can do exports by themselves into Excel, CSV, PDF, and so on, but we can also set it up for recurring email delivery. So if we do export and then do setup scheduling, you'll see that it gives us, we're now in the configuration for scheduling. Here we can choose the output format. So do we want it to be sent over as an Excel sheet, as a PDF, or just as inline HTML in the email? We'll go ahead and leave it as Excel. We choose how often the email should go out. So in this case, we'll just have it go weekly. We'll choose the day of week. We'll choose the time of day. So we'll go ahead and do 7 a.m. We'll go ahead and add a recipient. So you can do just a standard email, or if you start typing in your name or name of a user, you can do an autocomplete here. Hit next. Then we can also fill in the subject line and optionally include an email body. Once you've set this up, you will be able, this email will just go out and to whoever the assignees are on that scheduled interval. Okay, go ahead and go back to our report here. Okay, so let's go ahead and create just a little bit of a variant of a report here. Let's do, let's just do a simple one of, we'll do a column chart, assignee, and to-dos. Nothing fancy, but just kind of a sample here of what we can do. We'll say assignee, to-do count by assignee. Okay, so now let's say we want to add this report to our dashboard that we started with. We'll go back to reports. Then we'll click on the edit link next to Basecamp dashboard. And let's say we want to replace how many comments have been posted with this new report. We can find it under recent reports here on the left. We can drag it over how many comments have been posted. We can save. We do navigate end user, and it shows us our dashboard in the overview. And now that new report is there replacing comment count on the overview page. Okay, so now I'm going to jump back to something we did early on, which was clicking on a chart element and pulling up this drill through report with details of what's feeding into that chart. Often you'll want to customize what is shown in this drill through report. This is just the default, but it's just a report by itself. So if we go back to data source, open up the dashboard reports folder, scroll down, and then there is a report here called to-do detail list. We can edit this report. And let's say we want to take overdue status out and add to-do starts on. Now it appears that we actually don't have start dates in this data, but if you had one, that'd be more useful. So we'll go ahead and save our report. And now, when we click on the chart element in the dashboard, you'll see that overdue status is gone, and we have the to-do start date, assuming you had data for it, as well here. All right. You can also enable what we call a two-way connection on Basecamp. What this enables you to do is to add, update, delete data from your Basecamp directly from your Easy Insight reports. You do have to explicitly turn this on, and in this case, I've already turned it on, but it'll be available for you under the Getting Started section. Once you've set it up, you can do things like this two-way report. What this is showing us is our projects, to-do lists, and to-dos. We can mark a to-do off as completed. We can reassign it, adding assignees, taking off assignees. And we can assign or update due dates. The nice thing about this is you can do it across all of your projects. You're not just honed in looking at a specific project when you do it, but you can quickly make changes looking across your different projects, looking across and just looking at things from the different reports that Easy Insight makes available to you. Especially if you're doing cleanup, this can help. You could, if there's to-dos that just need to be deleted out of the system, you could create reports that filter and find those to-dos meeting a certain criteria, then simply click here and do delete. Any questions around anything we've covered here? One further thing you can do is extend your Basecamp data in Easy Insight with custom fields. So for example, I can go to configure the data source, add custom fields. Then I can add custom fields to projects or to-dos or anything else. So for example, I can add a custom field to my project, which is we can do project category, something that isn't available intrinsically in Basecamp. We'll go ahead and create a project category. And then we can go ahead and fill in a value. And then these fields become reportable. So you could create a filter on project category. You can also customize it to have just predefined values. So if I go to project category from the editor, I can do customize predefined values, use a configured set of values, load values from existing data. No, actually that's not going to work in this case, but we can go ahead and add marketing, sales, save. And instead, this now becomes a pick list. So we could choose from those available set of options. There's a question, does Easy Insight make automatic updates when anything is added through Basecamp? By default, Easy Insight refreshes on a nightly basis. However, you can choose to enable real-time reports, which in this case I actually have enabled as well, but it'll be available under Getting Started. It's pseudo real time. You can do it up to a 5-minute refresh interval, but basically when the report is loaded on those 5-minute intervals, it'll look for changes and load them in. All right, we have just a few minutes left here. Any questions around anything we've covered here? Anything specific you'd like to see before we drop off? Let's see, just other things that may be useful. So if you want to see to-dos that were completed in a certain time frame, you could create a filter on to-do completed at. You could do rolling, range, or absolute. So I could go ahead and do a range, choose month, year. So let's say I do month, year. And that gives us that filter to say, okay, we only want to look at data for, say, June of this year. And now it's only showing us the to-dos that were completed in June of 2020. We can also create pattern match filters. So let's say we want to show any to-dos which contain the words client specific. We click on to-do name, do create a filter on the field, choose pattern match, and then here we'll put in client specific. And now we're seeing our set of client specific to-do names. I don't believe I have any test data for it, but schedule entries are also available. So if you're using scheduling in Basecamp, you can pull over your various schedule entries into your reports. And as you can see, the field we created earlier, project category, is available to add to our reports as well. All right, we have 2 minutes left. Any other questions? Okay, so question is, could you please show how you load the basic information, for instance, on an availability assignee? So again, I'm assuming this is referencing the Basecamp dashboard resource allocation here. So what this one is doing is it's just looking at how many to-dos each person has typically completed on a week-over-week basis. So identifying that Eileen Miller has typically done 5 to-dos, Dana Ryan's typically done 2, so on, and then applying the colors based on, for the upcoming to-dos, what those counts are. Because Basecamp itself doesn't track hours, it just tracks the number. You really just have the to-do counts. That's what we're doing here. We do have some solutions you can use if you're looking at things more from a time perspective, but that's probably outside the scope of what we can do in this call. If you reach out via email, we'd be happy to kind of walk through that with you. All right, well, we've reached our 30-minute time window for this webinar. If you have any other further questions, would like to get further information or anything you saw in this webinar, please go ahead and give us an email. You can send it to either sales or support@easy-insight.com. As mentioned, our next webinar will be on building custom fields and using scripting in Easy Insight. If you have further ideas for webinars you'd like to see beyond that, please reach out and let us know. Thanks for your time, and we hope this has been useful for you.